bits. The GST Council has reduced rates on movie tickets. Tickets priced above 100 rupees will fall in the 18% slab against the 28% slab earlier, while tickets priced below the 100 price, very few I might add, will fall in the 12% slab versus 18% earlier. Theatres will have to pass on the reduction to consumers, but will more affordable tickets increase footfalls in cinemas? That's talked to Deepak Ashar. He's president of the Multiplex Association of India, and in a bit we'll also be joined by Nitin Sood, the CFO at PVR. Mr. Ashar, thanks so much for joining in. Is it too soon or too premature to assume that a tax cut of 10% on a ticket priced above 100 would lead to footfalls?
Well, economic theory suggests that with lower ticket prices or with lower prices of any good or service, the demand would go up. So I think it's reasonable to assume that as ticket prices are lowered because of the impact of the lower GST, you will see improved footfalls and improved occupancies for the business as a general theory. Unfortunately, in this business, we are not selling a standard homogenized commodity, which is the same day to day and week to week. We are selling content which changes from week to week, and hence it's difficult to ascertain the exact impact of any price change on demand, because demand also depends on the quality of content rather than just price. But yeah, I mean, one would expect that with 10% lower prices, more people will see movies much more often than they did, and hence on a macro basis, occupancy levels should improve.
Ceteris paribus, you would reckon that it could improve. Was the contra true, Mr. Ashar, that when the rates did go up, did it have an impact on footfalls, or even that is too difficult to ascertain because the releases would have been different at that point of time, etc., etc.?
Yeah, that's the whole point. Releases would be different, and hence there's no direct cause-effect relationship that one can establish through statistical analysis. It's just gut feel and general economic theory that leads you to believe that higher prices would mean lower footfalls and lower prices would mean higher footfalls.
You would reckon, Mr. Ashar, that multiplex owners would pass on the entire benefit to consumers, or would some part of it be kept back as well? Nothing wrong or right, well, I'm just asking.
I think, based on the initial discussion that we've had with the various players, I think the intent is to pass on the entire benefit to the consumers.
Okay.
The benefit, of course, is going to be effective from the 1st of January, because that's when I'm told that the GST rate cut will be effective from, and hence you would see a fall in ticket pricing 1st January. And I do believe that that's not necessarily negative for cinema owners. I think it's more than positive for several reasons. One, of course, as I say, is with lower ticket prices, you see higher footfalls and therefore improved occupancies. But that apart, as more people come into cinema theaters, you will also see your food and beverage revenues, your advertising revenues and other revenue streams also going up. And I think it's therefore positive for the industry. The spin-off effect also will be that as your collections improve, as your net collections improve, and as you know, we source content from producers and distributors based on giving them a percentage of the net revenues. As the payout to distributors and producers goes up, the viability of the production sector and the distribution sector also improves, which hopefully would lead to more movies being made and better movies being made because of better budgets. And hence, I think it's going to be win-win-win for all. Win for the consumer in terms of lower ticket prices, win for the exhibitor because of better footfalls, and win for the production sector also because of higher payments to content creators.
Well, Nitin Sood also in this conversation, and Mr. Ashar, I request you to stay on. In opening thoughts, Nitin, thanks much for joining in as well. Mr. Ashar believes, and maybe rightly so, that no direct correlation, but would you believe sentiment-wise this could help spur demand in whatever little way that it can?
Yeah, I completely agree with Deepak here, and I think it's a very big positive news for the entire industry, not just the film exhibition sector, but as Deepak rightly pointed out, also for the distribution sector and the film production sector, because we are all sharing a percentage of collections that we collect from the customer. So I think overall impact will lead to direct ticket price reduction, and hopefully I think with more consumers coming to cinemas, I think the entire sector should benefit in the long run.
Interesting. Mr. Ashar also spoke about, and obviously so, that the pipeline and the content available at a given point of time would be a bigger determinant. Add to that the fact that this is in play. How does the first quarter then look like? Because you guys would have a sense of the kind of box office that is coming up, how does, therefore, the Jan, Feb, March quarter appear to be? Nitin, the question first to you.
Yeah, I think we have a very good lineup of films. This entire year has been a good year from box office perspective, both on the regional cinema front, Hollywood cinema front, and even the local Hindi film industry. We've had a lot of films which have done exceedingly well, smaller films which have kind of surpassed expectations. There have been a few misses, but I think more or less they've been made up by the other films. Jan, Feb, March is again looking like a very good quarter. We have a lot of films releasing every month in January, February, March. So we are looking forward to a blockbuster year in 2018-19.
Very interesting. Mr. Asher, the same question to you. I mean, would you believe that the box office content available in the Jan, Feb, March quarter, coupled with the slightly lower ticket prices as well, or maybe substantially lower ticket prices, 10% might be big for some people, would ensure that the last quarter of the current financial year would be a good one for multiplex owners?
I think so, yes. The pipeline of content is pretty good. Speaking for a moment, removing my MAI hat and wearing my INOX Leisure hat, we are also on a fairly significant and aggressive growth spree. We are adding screens this year. So the impact of those incremental screens, the impact of the content that's coming in, and the impact of the lower ticket prices, which hopefully should lead to higher footfalls, I think all put together will lead to significant financial performance improvement over the next few months. We only hope, just one caveat there, we only hope that the content pipeline that looks so attractive on the front windshield will look equally good in the rear view mirror. So once the movies are done, we hope that they would have performed as well as they're expected.
Well, one certainly hopes so. Mr. Asher, we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for taking time out, Deepak Asher, and joining us. Nitin, Sood, I just have one final question to you. It would be premature or, not right on my part to not talk about the fundraise as well, without getting into specific details, etc. Just a broad brush comment on what would timelines and what would this fundraising mean for you?
Yeah, essentially, I think right now it's just an enabling resolution that board has passed, which allows the company to think about a fundraise in the future. And I think the broad idea behind this fundraise essentially is as and when we raise this money will be to accelerate growth and then make further investments in the pipeline of screens that we are supposed to open. So it's an enabling resolution, I think, and we'll share more plans as we go along the way.
Okay. Fair call. Well, we certainly hope that things turn out even better than what they appear right now. Nitin, Sood, thank you so much. It's strange to see in a country like India, the largest multiplex chain, about $1 billion. There's a lot of size and room to grab. Please go and do that. Thank you so much for joining in today and giving us your thoughts.